Good morning, stranger. I want to talk to you about Jesus. Wait, don't go. I swear it's fascinating. So, I'm a YouTuber and I've been doing this series about crackpot theories about people who discovered America before Columbus. And well, you're going to be in the penultimate episode. How good for you. So let me tell you about the claims that Semitic peoples came to America before Columbus. And yes, that includes the Mormon claim that one of those people was Jesus. I'm Tristan Johnson, and this is Step Back History. Semitic people have a significant role in history. They're a language group that consists of ethnicities today, such as Jews and Arabs. However, it goes back to several civilizations that developed in this general area almost as far back as we've been developing in general areas. Today, we're going to talk about arguments that Semitic people made it to the shores of America long before Columbus sailed that ocean blue. Let's begin our story in China. Over the centuries, the Chinese have been trading with the Middle East. The Middle East was in the center of a trade route running through Asia, moving goods from east to west. The fact that the records of Arabs going to the Americas comes from China is not a surprise, as they saw each other a lot. Also, Mongols destroyed many Arab writings, and so a lot of our knowledge about the medieval Islamic world comes from strange places. The Chinese have accounts from Arab traders that they sailed to an unknown region called Mulan. This comes from two writings dating to the year 1178 and 1225. These two writings together go by the name the Sung document. Now, most interpretations think that Mulan is Spain, but a few people think it might be the Americas. The theory's most prominent supporter was American historian Hulin Lee in the 60s. There's also one document by Muslim historian Abu al-Hussein Ali al-Masoudi that claims that someone named Kashkash ibn Sa'id ibn Aswad crossed the Atlantic and discovered an unknown land in the year 889, coming home with a ship full of goods as proof. Now, here is the major problem with these theories. Arab ships in this period might have been able to make the trip over, but not back. The thing about traveling across the Atlantic is that without knowledge of the wind and water currents, it can take a very long time to cross the Atlantic. The time required is likely longer than an old Arab ship could handle, and even if they knew about the northeastern trade winds, it would still add more time on the open ocean than a boat could handle. This is, of course, assuming you didn't get lost at sea centuries before the Islamic world would get the compass. Add in the fact that there's no physical evidence of this, and you have a sort of floppy argument. Now, the next two theories build upon each other. For quite a while, it was a favorite theory that sailors from ancient Phoenicia sailed to America as far back as 3,000 years ago. So the Phoenicians were a civilization from the age of antiquity. They lived in what today would be Lebanon, Israel, Syria, and Gaza. They were famous sailors and traders noted for their vessels, crafted from high-quality trees that grew in the Levant. The claim that Phoenician Atlantic explorers comes from a boulder located in Massachusetts. There are a series of markings on the stone that garnered attention for quite a long time. Even famous early American settlers like Cotton Mather would write about them. The story got interesting, however, when the president of Yale, Ezra Stiles, made the claim that these markings were not produced by indigenous peoples, but were, in fact, Hebrew text. This assertion is significant for an important reason. When the first European settlers arrived in the Americas, they were quite shocked to find people already there. People who made the very distinct claim that this was the continent they originated on. Keep in mind, the theory of evolution was centuries away. So Europeans had a pretty hard time trying to draw a path from the Garden of Eden to the indigenous peoples. They suspected that one of the ancestors of the indigenous people were the lost tribes of Israel. So the claim that ancient Hebrew writing turned up in Massachusetts verified their theory. Some other stones turned up over the 18th, 19th, and 20th centuries, but all of them turned out to be hoaxes. The most famous being lithographs, or a carving in stone, found in the southeast United States called the Bat Creek inscription. There was also a claim that a map found on a coin from the Empire of Carthage showed the Americas, but again, the artifact was exposed to be a modern forgery. It's almost as if in situations where theology really needs something to be true, forgeries pop out of the ground, but more on that later. The discussion of Phoenician treks across the sea is still active today, with many scholars coming to the pretty safe conclusion in this series that there is just no evidence that it happened. Some historians, like Ronald Fritz, point out that while technically possible, like the Viking site in Newfoundland we discussed in the first episode of this series, Phoenicians who crossed the Atlantic would have left something behind that we would have found. So at the moment, there's no reason to believe that the crossing ever happened. And so we come to the last of the essential Semitic contact theories, the one you clicked on this video for. The Mormon Church asserts that ancient Jews crossed the Atlantic, and that after his resurrection, so did Jesus. Oh boy. Okay, this is going to be a tough one to talk about. The Mormons have a well-established field of people trying to prove once and for all that the events Joseph Smith wrote about in the Book of Mormon are real. I'm not going to put kid gloves on for this discussion, but I also don't want to be a jerk to Mormons. So if any Mormons are listening, I don't know what to tell you. I will probably make a video about Mormonism, so I'll try to just do a quick TLDR rundown for you. A 19th century man named Joseph Smith published a book called the Book of Mormon. The book acts as a third testament of the Bible that he translated from golden plates he found under the direction of the angel Moroni. Joseph Smith and his followers worked their way west across the United States, getting chased out of town by people who didn't like them. In one case, an angry mob killed Joseph Smith, and the leadership of the church passed on to his right-hand man, Brigham Young. They eventually found Salt Lake City, and since then, it has been the center of their religion. They've since branched out across the world, do a lot, and I mean a lot, of missionary work, and do their thing over in Utah. The religion makes some claims about American history, including the Garden of Eden being located in Jackson County, Missouri, and some questionable things about Black and Native people they've since had to walk back on. The Book of Mormon claims that around the 5th century BCE, two Jewish groups called the Nephites and the Lamanites crossed the ocean to come to America. There was a war. The Lamanites wiped out the Nephites and became the indigenous people. Some also argue that Polynesian people are the descendants of the Lamanites. Their darker skin color a curse for their cruelty in wiping out the Nephites. Though to be fair, the Mormon Church no longer asserts this. There is also the Book of Abraham. Joseph Smith purchased some Egyptian papyrus off an antiquities trader. In a time before we could translate Egyptian hieroglyphics, he claimed he could tell that this was a book written by the famous biblical Abraham with divine inspiration. However, we do know hieroglyphics now, and what was thought to be the Book of Abraham turned out to be part of the famous Book of the Dead, a description of the Egyptian concept of the afterlife. The field of pre-Columbian archaeology is a well-established field. It's massive. My most popular video is about the developments in it. We have well-evidenced timelines of civilizations flourishing either during or before the time of the events occurring in the Book of Mormon. The book's claims simply don't add up. The Book of Mormon also references a lot of animals, plants, and objects as existing that have never been found in the Americas until after contact. You could hand-wave some of these off. Cattle could just be llamas, goats could be deer, etc. The tougher claims from the Book of Mormon are that technologies like chariots existed when no such technology, nor horses to pull them, existed in the Americas. Indigenous peoples had wheeled toys found in Mesoamerica, but no native groups ever went all the way as to make chariots or even anything close. The book also talks about steel when there was also none of it in the Americas pre-contact. There's lastly the issue of language. The Nephites described in the Book of Mormon have a language based on Egyptian and Greek, and they had a writing system. However, the only societies shown to have any written word in the pre-Columbian Americas were the Maya and the Olmecs. Their languages have no resemblance to either Egyptian or Greek. Furthermore, all the writings of the Americas have undergone pretty extensive linguistic analysis and point to the first peoples in the Americas arriving somewhere near Alaska around 12 to 17,000 years ago. The scientific consensus seems pretty clear that there's no evidence for any of the factual claims of the Book of Mormon. Other scholars also point out that the historical claims of the Book of Mormon are more in line with the genre of mound builder fiction popular in the 19th century. I want to end this with a positive takeaway, even for any of my Mormon viewers who haven't posted an angry comment and left by now. I don't pretend that the Mormon religion makes any more factual claims than other faiths. The other religions do have the benefit of age, and over the years, they've gone through a lot of work to make their text less literal and more allegorical. Just a thought. Religion, man. Makes doing this job complicated. Okay, so this is the second last video of this series. I have one left in me that I'm going to produce in the next batch of videos. So expect it in December. We're going to look into African claims of pre-Columbian contact. Did the Egyptian pharaohs do coke? Are these stone statue carvings of African traders? You'll just have to hang on to find out. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, mash that subscribe button and hit the bell notification to make sure you never miss a video. I do a lot of streams, so you can get an alert for those as well. Also, I want to take a sec to plug my new podcast. So every Sunday on the Alternate History Hub channel, Cody, Emperor Tiger Star, a pair of Tylers, and myself talk about stuff. History isn't the primary focus, but we're all big history fans, so it comes up a lot. If you can't make the streams though, the podcast can be found at a link down below in the description. Our theme song is by the beautiful and talented 12 Tone. Lastly, I'd like to thank these excellent patrons as well as Don and Carrie Johnson for keeping Step Back going. You just unlocked the $150 stretch goal, so expect a video about the swastika in the next month or so. And we're just $21 away from my next stretch goal, where I'll make a video on the history of the fascis. So if you want to see it, go to patreon.com/stepbackhistory and may help make it happen. Now, hang on tight for the next Step Back. And you know what? I'm not supposed to be wearing this lanyard, but
I didn't want to say anything because I thought it was part of the...
You know what? I'm just going to roll with it for this video, and then I'll just take it off for the next one.
Okay.
Why not? It makes it more interesting. Red on blue, that's color wheel, right?
Yeah.
I have a color wheel.